now, and it is recording. So welcome everyone here with us tonight, and those of us who do watch later. Tonight is part of a series that we are doing. So Thursday nights at 7 p.m. since we've been in quarantine and have had a little more time on our hands and a little more time at home, we have been doing this seminar series on topics that come up for people as you think about moving. And so tonight's topic is how to buy and sell at the same time. And move forward, come on, there we go. So that is me. With my hair a little bit shorter in that photo. I am Kristen Mason Coreas, owner and lead agent for the Homes by Mason team. I have been selling real estate now for 10 years. It'll be 11, I think, this October. Wow. Yeah, time flies. And so I focus mostly in Northern Virginia, Alexandria, Arlington, Falls Church, and surrounding areas. I have lived in Arlington, Alexandria, and Falls Church, and have been living in the area in Northern Virginia since 1999. I am a transplant, but I've been here for a long time now. So, and have been honored with several awards, and am a top producer in both my office and in the region and nationally. I'm top 1% nationwide. So we're going to talk about the options. Okay, so when you buy and sell at the same time, basically you're either going to list your home first and then buy, or you're going to buy your home, your next home, and then sell. And not everyone has the opportunity to do it the second way. So you have to be able to handle that financially, right? And so that's why we've got James with us tonight. So there are more options than people may realize to be able to do that. And so James will talk through the financial aspects of it. So I'm going to talk through the logistics initially. So, and I will also say that buying and selling at the same time is quite a tango, right? We don't want people to end up homeless, which could possibly happen when you're buying and selling your home that you're currently in. And so for those of you who don't do this often, right? If you buy a home or sell a home every 7 to 10 years, it could be a daunting experience. For those of us who do this often, you know, we do know how to do this tango. And so I sell on average 30-ish homes a year, and several times a year we're helping people to do the buy and sell at the same time. Someone else joined us, it sounds like
Beverly.
Awesome. So
welcome, Beverly.
The list first and then buy option. So there's a couple of variations on how to do that. So if you are going to list your home and then buy a home, you can get it ready for the market, put it on the market, and then start shopping, right? And if you find a home before you have a contract on your home, then you would attempt to buy that home contingent upon selling. And that is different than option number 2, which is contingent upon closing. So the difference is that if you don't have a contract on your home, or even if you don't have your house on the market, it does sometimes happen that people who own a home find something that they love and they call me and say, we really want to buy this home, can we? In that case, we could make an offer contingent upon selling your home, in which we present a contract that says, we do intend to sell their home. We have a listing date. You know, we are working together on preparing the home for market, and we want to sell it and intend to sell it, and we want to buy your home. Please give us time to sell this home. So you can see how a seller may or may not be interested in that offer, especially in a competitive market. If it is low inventory, high demand, like we have been seeing here for a long time, most sellers will expect that they could probably get a better offer than that. Variation number 2 on this is contingent upon closing is a slightly better option. So if you have listed your home on the market and received an offer to purchase your home, now you can write an offer contingent upon closing. So then when we say to the seller of your new home, we have an offer, and here I can even share with you the offer that we have, and we're past our home inspection and this or that, you know, several of the contingencies, you know, I can tell them where we are in the process to help give them confidence that we do expect to close this home. And so that one obviously is, again, slightly better and more likely to be accepted by a seller. However, it does protect you as the purchaser of that next home, because in fact, if that contingency does say that if anything falls through on the purchase of your home that you're selling, you can get out of the purchase of the next home. So again, it does protect you if you're selling and buying. And again, that seller of the home that you would be purchasing might not be so excited about that contingency, right? So depending upon their circumstances, and again, if they think they might get a better offer, they may or may not take that. So the third option we tend to see more often, more frequently, where people who may not have the option to buy first and then sell will often choose this, where what we do is we get the home ready, we put it on the market, get it under contract, and actually sell their home and rent it back from the buyers who have bought the home. So the buyer's lender who is buying your home is not usually going to allow a rent back for more than 60 days. And how that rent back works is that you essentially are paying rent, you're paying what it costs your buyers to own your home, which will probably be more than what you're paying because they're probably paying more than what you paid for it. But still, it saves you the hassle of moving out of your home. And so in terms of timing with that rent back, if you put your home on the market, and it usually takes about 30 to 45 days to close on a property. And then if you get 60 days to rent back your home, so now you have about 90 days in general to find your next home. So it may be scary to some people to choose that option because, of course, the fear is, what if I sell my home and I don't find something else, right? But typically that doesn't happen, right? So, I do this a lot, and fortunately, most of the time people find a home to buy within that 90-day time frame. And also, it might be a good idea to have a plan B, right? So that's not a bad idea. So because again, after 60 days, those buyers of your home are going to be moving in unless you extend the rent back, which a lender is not going to want to see or hear that. So that might be something you could kind of do afterwards, but not with realtors or lenders involved in that process. So the next option is to buy first and then list. And I have it in quotations because buying the home happens when you actually close on the home, right? However, what you could do is get under contract for a home, which would be the buy. So you haven't actually bought it, but you've written an offer and they've accepted your offer. So you're under contract to buy that home. And now you want to try to mitigate the amount of time, perhaps, before you sell your home. So you can then quickly put it on the market and try to sell it with a shorter time frame between the purchase of your next home and the sale of your home. Now, it's pretty inconvenient to be living in a home and trying to pack and move out of a home while you're listing your home, because packing and moving is messy, right? And when we are selling your home, we don't want it to be messy. We want it to show beautifully. So that is why I don't typically see that option used. So more so what I would see is that buy the home, move out of your home, take all of your stuff and all of your pets and all of your kids and things, get out, leave the home behind, have it cleaned, maybe have the walls painted, let me stage the property, list it, and sell it after you've moved to your next home. So, and we'll talk about the timing. How long does it take to sell a home? We'll talk about that there shortly. Does anyone have questions about that part? I usually wait till the end, but there's a lot that went into that. And I, again, do this all the time, so I get it, but I feel like I might have missed some pieces or again, if anyone has questions, either throw them in the chat or you can unmute yourself and let me know. And I'm trying to pull up the chat. Rebecca, can you watch the chat?
I am watching the chat, and I just chatted with everyone and let them know where to respond with any questions so they don't forget.
Okay.
But
Awesome.
knowing that I'm thinking about, moving out of our home that we've been in for, 15 years, and looking at wherever, buying and selling looks very attractive as long as we qualify, James. And John, go talk to Daddy, okay? Okay. Sorry about that. Speaking of, yes, our house is, Hannah is actually talking about buying and the qualifications that we need in the next home. But the fact that we actually just recently sold Isabella and Ron's home, I was wondering if you can tell us what that looks like. What do you, like, if they can't leave and they want to stay, as far as what the driveway might look like. And of course, we have connections with many vendors that make it very easy and attractive to possibly stay in their home. Can you broaden that conversation a little bit of what that might look like? Do you understand, Kristen?
What it looks like to live in a home while you're selling it? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, because Isabella, they did an amazing job. And they had a whole lot of stuff, and they ended up staying, but they could have gone. And
well, again, not everyone has the option to go first. And so the fact of the matter is that when we sell your home, to get the best results, we ideally want your home to look like no one lives there. And I do staging, even if the home is occupied. And so Rebecca's referring to a client of ours who we did just sell, and they were living there. They did have a lot of stuff. And so the first step, which we'll talk a little bit more about later, is how to prepare, right, to get on the market. We will talk about that. But for everybody, it's declutter and depersonalize. So, paring down the stuff, getting rid of stuff, packing up stuff. And typically it does involve getting a storage unit. Because we want to thin out and show your home better. And as I said, we want your home to look like no one lives there. And believe me, actually, I get that question sometimes. So when people do it right with me, I get the question from buyers, wow, does anyone live here? Like, because they're like, they kind of get the sense that someone lives there, but they're not sure. And I'm like, they did their job right. Yes, they do live here, but you can't see the toothbrushes. You can't see the shampoo and conditioner. You don't see dirty dishes. You don't see a drying rack. Okay. These are the things that we do to make it show better. So it's kind of a pain in the butt, and it's kind of inconvenient to live in a home while it's on the market. But if you have to do it, you do it, and me and my team help you through that process. So,
and you're a staging consultant, so you do know, as far as you let them know, this is what needs to stay, go ahead and pack that away. This is what needs to go. I can still use this, put this away. So that's helpful.
Yes, so I do that walkthrough, and I do all of that, exactly what you're talking about. And I will even set the table sometimes. That's one of the things I like to do when I stage it. And so I say, here are the place settings, put them on the table before you're showing. And of course you can move them aside when you're eating, but put them back out before the showing. So Mark had a question about, is there an opportunity for profit or higher sale? Either one. Not necessarily. That goes to kind of timing the market, which I do have some slides on later. So I'll talk about timing the market later.
If you didn't check the chat box, we do have questions. Bill did ask, will you address how to finance the purchase and the new construction while in your current home? He's considering buying new and renting out the current home.
Finance the purchase of new. So the financing piece, so that'll be a question for James. So I'll turn that over to him. And then Jasmine asked about, in the competitive market for buyers, how likely is it a seller will accept an offer contingent on closing? So I touched on that earlier, right? I mean, we have a very competitive market here in Northern Virginia, and we have been experiencing low supply and high demand for a long time. So it has, in general, been a very competitive seller's market, that sellers have the upper hand. And in a competitive market, it is not very likely that a seller will take something contingent upon selling or closing. Now, that doesn't mean never, and I am always willing to try for my clients. So I never say never, but the reality is, in terms of setting expectations, it's tough, and not very probable in a competitive market that sellers would take that, unless you find a home that's been sitting on the market, right? If there's a home that has been sitting and hasn't gone under contract, well, then those sellers are going to be more motivated and more likely. And you would think in COVID, during COVID time, that sellers might be more motivated, although the reality is that actually the market's not really suffering due to COVID. Activity is down in terms of both inventory and buyer demand, but because there wasn't enough inventory before, even though demand has come down, there's still more than enough demand, basically, for the little supply that's out there. So I will turn it over to James now, and then at the end, there'll be another chance to ask questions if we haven't covered them by then. So take it away, James.
Thank you. So just a little bit, I think I already kind of give you a little background on myself. I'm working on 19 years now of experience. I love what I do. There's a lot of opportunity, especially with the interest rates as low as they are right now, to take advantage. Maybe, to be honest with you, some of the stuff I'm going to talk about maybe wouldn't have worked if the interest rates are 5%. But with the interest rates as low as they are now, some of the things that I'm going to speak about may be available. So one of the key things we look at is what does it take to qualify for both mortgages if you want to purchase at the same time. So if you want to purchase, you currently have a mortgage, what does it take to be able to qualify for both those mortgages? And one of the key aspects is, where is the down payment going to come from? And do you have enough down payment? So, I
forgot to do that.
Thank you.
By the way, it's James's birthday today. So I wanted
Happy birthday, James.
Thank you.
So thank you to James for being with us, even though it's your birthday.
Thank you. You caught me by surprise.
Sorry, I threw you off. You were talking about down payment and qualifying.
Yes,
sorry, you weren't to down payment yet. You were talking about qualifying.
Yeah, so the funny thing is, one of the things that Kristen was touching on is, what is the best way to buy to be most competitive? And it's to be able to buy the property and be able to move into that property and then get your house staged properly and get that house ready to go and that way you don't have to worry about rushing into a contract or, oh my God, I'm so worried, I don't want to pay. If you can get into that new mortgage, get into that new house, then get your house ready exactly where it needs to be and then get out of it. That really is seems like, from the history of time I've been doing this, that is your best bet. So one of the first things we're going to talk about is, do you have a down payment to be able to do that? Do you have money right now to be able to buy another house with the mortgage you currently have, without being able to get the money out of the house? Because most of the time when people sell a house, obviously they're carrying over some equity, and usually they use that money for the down payment on the new home. And the next question we ask is, can you qualify for both mortgages? Because if you can't qualify for both mortgages, it's probably not going to work. So you can go to the next slide. That'd be great. So where can your down payment come from? This is a big question people don't realize. First of all, a lot of people think you need 20%. You don't. All the way up to 760. You guys might have a slide on this later, but all the way up to 765, 600, you only need a 5% down payment. Okay, so you only need a 5% down payment, and those funds, there it is, required down payment, 5% up to 765, 600. So that gets you to a pretty high amount with a little bit of down payment. So where can those down payment come from? So obviously it can come from your checking, your saving account, investments. Something that a lot of people don't realize that they may have access to is a 401k loan, or really an IRA loan. They can borrow. Oftentimes they can borrow from the 401k, or they can do a temporary pull off their IRA to put a down payment. So that's definitely an option. You can get a gift on pretty much any, as long as you're not buying an investment property, you can get a gift. So mom, dad, uncle, cousin, whoever, sister, brother can give you a gift for the down payment. One of the other options is you can get a home equity line on your home, the current home you have now. You can use funds from that house to put a down payment. So one of the things I like to talk about on doing a home equity loan is, if you think that this may be something you're going to get involved in the next, say, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, and you don't have a home equity loan and you do have a lot of equity in your house and you want to use that equity for the down payment on the new house, just go ahead and get that home equity loan now. You can go with your local bank. I have some good options. We oftentimes recommend Tower Federal Credit Union. They'll let you take 100% of the value of your home. So you can tap those funds and have them available now. And then 6 months from now, when you're ready to buy a house, you already have the down payment. You already have the down payment without having to sell your house, without having to do a contingent contract.
James?
Yes.
I don't know if you've been watching the chat box, but Mark and Bill have a question. Bill asked about addressing how to finance the purchase of a new construction while in your current home. He's considering buying new and renting out my current home. What do you think about using a HELO for HELOC, sorry, for your down payment? And Mark was asking, is there a dollar limit on gifts? So Bill first and then Mark.
Okay, so on the home equity loan, that's a great way to do it. So if you can get the equity loan now, the problem you run into an equity loan is you should always get it done ahead of time, because you may run into some issues. Like if you're trying to do it at the exact time you're trying to buy, they might be saying, well, where's the equity loan? Are you going to be living in this house? And you're like, oh, I'm buying a new house. And you kind of run into some occupancy issues. So I would always try to get that equity loan done before I write the contract or before I do anything, just so there's nothing that could pop up later on that. So I always recommend to all my clients to get an equity loan. A lot of banks will do it for free.
Really?
You know, they'll pay all your closing costs, and as long as you keep the loan open for a certain amount of years, they won't charge you back anything. So, and you don't pay anything on the equity loan unless you're borrowing money from it. So just to get it, it's like having a credit card literally that has no, yearly fee, and you only pay on the credit card if you borrow money on it. So the same thing with the equity loan.
Wow.
So yeah, I think an equity loan is one of the best options. Like I said, Tower Federal is who we recommend. They let you go to 100% of the value of your home, which far exceeds pretty much everybody else that's out there.
You said Tower Federal?
Tower Federal Credit Union. They're out of Maryland.
Okay.
They have like, I don't know, 20 branches or so throughout Maryland, maybe Delaware. And they have a really good team up there that helps us out getting equity loans put together. So on the gifts, no, there's no limit. The way, just so people understand, what we consider a gift and what the IRS considers a gift are two totally different things. The way we consider a gift is there's no payment required. So like if mom's giving you a loan, she just has to say, hey, we don't expect to get this loan paid back, or we're not putting in a payment plan. They're just saying, hey, here's $50,000, buy your house. So the gifts, as far as IRS concerned, that has to do with like who's writing off the gift, who's taking the gift, who's getting the tax break. Like that we don't report any of the gifts to the IRS. Our definition of gift and their definition of gift are two totally different things. So, but to answer your question, no, there's no restriction on how much the gift. The only time you can't get a gift is if you're purchasing an investment property. So investment property gifts are not allowed. The funds have to come directly from you, but if they could come from a HELOC, but they couldn't come from a gift. So is that pretty much it for the questions in the box? Okay, cool. So, all right, can you go back to my other slide, the financing?
Oops. Sorry, hold on.
No, it's fine. The finances of buying first. It's not a big deal if you don't. Okay, thanks. So yeah, the last option is a bridge loan. And the way a bridge loan works is, a bridge loan usually you would get on your house if your house was already on the market and you had substantial equity, and you could use that. You could take a loan against your house to use those funds to purchase the new home. So the beauty about a bridge loan is oftentimes we look at it when you can't qualify because you can't carry two mortgages, and the bridge loan doesn't count the other mortgage because it's a short-term 6-month loan. It doesn't fit the normal parameters required by normal long-term financing. So it's a way to be able, like, let's say you're on a fixed income and you make $100,000 a year or whatever it is, and you certainly can't afford the $400,000 mortgage you have plus the $500,000 mortgage you're getting. You can't afford a $900,000 total mortgage. A bridge loan will enable you to qualify for the new loan without counting the old mortgage. So it's used in special circumstances. Market's a little tight right now on that, but it should be something that we could definitely look at in the future. So one of the things, here we go, finances and buying first. So here's a perfect scenario in which you have like a current home. Let's say you have a home value of $600,000. You owe $400,000 on a $400,000 mortgage, and you have a $200,000 HELOC. So then you could ideally buy your new home at $800,000. You could use your HELOC for the down payment and closing costs, and you qualify for a new loan at $620,000. So that's in a perfect world. You've already got the HELOC set up. You can carry both mortgages and go ahead and buy that house without having to go contingent. So that's a perfect scenario for getting that HELOC put together and getting it up front now if you're looking to buy 6 months, 9 months, 12 months. So that's a great example. All right, option number 2. This one's a little more tricky. This is if you have no HELOC in your current home. You want to buy a new home at $800,000. Your first one is $640,000. You could actually get a HELOC on the new home. Okay, so instead of getting a HELOC on the old home, you could get it. So this is often referred. You'll hear people say, "Oh, 80-15-5." That's one of the terms people throw out, and that means you're doing a first mortgage and a second mortgage on the new home. So the other scenario we're looking at, you have a first mortgage and second mortgage on your old home. This is a way to buy a new home with a first mortgage and a second mortgage on the new home. So you buy a new home at $800,000, you get a first loan for $640,000. We do a second mortgage on the new home, on a home equity loan on the new home for $120,000. You get part of your down payment pulled from, it's a little cut off on mine. Pulled from your 401k, say $30,000. Your remaining down payment you get from a gift in your savings. And then when you do sell your home, you can pay off the home equity loan, and then you just have the one loan left. So that's a solution we use all the time, where someone gets a first mortgage and a second mortgage. When the house sells, they pay off the second mortgage. So they're left with just one mortgage, and that way they can take advantage of today's low interest rates. Okay. Oh, I do have a bridge loan slide coming up next.
I know.
So I got ahead of myself there. I get so excited talking about them. So yeah, so a bridge loan is the best option to use when you can't qualify for both mortgages. You can do it on the old loan to take out the old loan and pull money out for the down payment on the new house. We can actually do them on the new house. It's called a bridge for acquisition. And then you can buy the new house, and then you're going to refinance the bridge loan into a normal loan once you get your other house sold. So it's a great option. Like I said, right now, just because the market after COVID started, there was like some tightening up in the market, but this is a strategy we've used for years for people. It's currently on hold, but it looks like it'll be available here shortly now that the market, I'm sure everyone's seen this, stock market's back up over 26,000. So stock market dropped to 18,000 with COVID. Everyone freaked out and they pulled all the programs because everyone was so scared. But we're going back to a more normal type lending environment. And with each day, we're getting more programs and restrictions lifted. So I think that's it for me.
Those are all of James's slides. And usually, again, we hold the questions till the end. But I know these things are kind of complicated. Again, James and I do this all the time, so we get it. And for those of you who don't, it may be a little complicated. So I do want to open the floor again if you have questions for James. And I know Bill was asking about financing for a new home. in particular. So James, I don't know, is there anything in particular, anything that'd be different about financing a new?
No, just with a new home, it's usually you're waiting, like think about it, you're waiting maybe it's 6 months or 9 months out. And they usually want money up front when you do your deposit, and then up front when you pick your lot. You know, they have these deposits. So a home equity loan is a great way because you're going to be in that house probably for 6 months or 9 months or 12 months waiting for your house to be built. And there's no better way to get that, to access that money than doing an equity loan. And the interest rates are so low on equity loans right now, it's a great way to borrow those funds for a low amount. And they're usually interest only. So the monthly payment on them is very low. And then obviously, if you sell the house, you pay it off. And if you decide to rent it, maybe you pay it off too. I don't know. I'd have to see what the overall scenario is for it.
All right. So I don't see any other questions in the chat. I will move forward.
Yeah, and anyone can, if anyone has a specific idea or specific scenario they want to run by me, they can just shoot me an email. I'll be happy to go over the stuff in a little bit greater.
I'll chat your email to everyone, okay?
Thank you.
You're
Awesome.
welcome.
Cheers.
All right, so I will move forward, and again, we'll open the floor for questions again at the end. So how long does it take to sell, right? So if, again, a lot of people are like, I don't want to buy first and then sell, that scares me, right? And I get it, right? And you know, we take our job very seriously. I mean, we don't want people's finances to be in jeopardy. And so again, that's why we're going to make sure that you are well qualified to do so if that's the option that you choose. And we're going to make sure that you're in good hands all around. So, and the good news is that with Homes by Mason, our average days on market almost all the time. So I look at my stats every month, and it changes a little bit depending upon the season, which is what we're going to look at here, right? So different times of year, there is, excuse me, a little less demand. So it might take a little bit longer if it's a time of year when there's less buyer activity out there. So my numbers might go up a little bit, but in general, like my average days on market when we list a home is about 21. 25, I think, is like the max that I hit in those times of year when it takes a little bit longer. So 21 to 25 days in general. That doesn't mean that I sell all of them in that time frame, right? There's obviously different factors involved, but I have a good track record. And in fact, oftentimes we sell homes in the first weekend. So that's the good news. And again, just wanted to show you here, right? So how long it takes to sell depends upon demand and supply and demand. And so closed sales, obviously, most people know that in the spring is usually the peak selling season. That's typically when there is most demand for homes, and then the demand goes down and then it goes back up. So that's typically how things cycle. And however, the reality is we do sell homes every month of the year. Every single month of the year, there are homes selling. So we can and do sell homes. It just might take a little bit longer if there is less demand. And that's, you know, the least amount of demand is usually when we see, you know, around the holidays at the end of the year. And then January, things really start to pick up. I actually like selling homes in January. I have had a lot of success listing homes in January. So this chart shows you the statistics for April in Northern Virginia. And so again, you can see typically the peak of the market here, the 5-year average for Northern Virginia is 25 days. And in fact, this April, during COVID, it was 14 days, which was really surprising to see. I've actually not seen it that low. And I think that was actually as a result of COVID, instead of letting homes sit for a week to get a pile of contracts and get more buyers through and more demand. These days, I think people don't necessarily want more people going through their home, and they want to have that security of getting a contract sooner rather than later, because we have obviously a rapidly changing world around us right now. So another way to make sure that your home sells quickly is to price it right. Okay, so we have a couple of pricing strategies. And there's the right price strategy versus the aggressive price versus competitive price, okay? So the competitive price would be, okay, we're gonna try to determine the value of your home, and I have another seminar totally on assessing the value of your home. And once we determine what the value is in the eyes of the market, the best that we can, we might decide to price it a little bit lower than what we think the true value of the home is. And the reason why we would do that is because it's like putting something on the sale rack, right? People get more excited when they think they're going to get a good deal on something, and it gets more eyes and feet through the door, frankly, right? Because someone, you know, who thinks maybe they couldn't afford your home sees it and then gets really excited and decides, okay, yeah, I am going to make this happen. I love this home. So that would be the competitive price strategy, which will tend to often generate multiple offers and drive the price above that competitive price that we set it at to start, and often sell it fast. Right price generally does the same thing as well. Now, aggressive price would be if we say, okay, we think the prices are going up in the market, so we want to price ahead, and you know, we think we might be able to get more, so let's price it a little bit higher and see if we get it. I don't generally take that approach, and especially when time is of the essence. So when time is of the essence, I just think, you know, it can backfire on you if you don't hit that mark, and if you don't get the right buyers through your door and your home sits on the market. We all know that when something sits on the market, people begin to think something's wrong with it and then might not even come through the door. So I don't like that strategy when time is of the essence.
And would that be because it's in January and Mark's backyard is not blooming? He said would it be better to wait till spring because he has a gorgeous, gorgeous, beautiful backyard. And I'm all about that aesthetic because I'm a gardener. So
good question about time of year. So we do. I mean, Lincolnia Hills, where Mark's home is beautiful in the spring. We have cherry blossoms blooming on the streets, and it's gorgeous. And so it's nice to sell in the spring. But yet, what I like about selling in January, I'll tell you, is that what happens is at the end of the year, a lot of people take a break from buying, right? So they're looking. They can't find what they want. And then the holidays come. And they're like, I'm going to take a break and just enjoy the holidays. There's not a lot on the market anyway. So they take a break. What happens in January? Those buyers from the end of the year who could not find what they wanted the year before come back onto the market. They are very serious buyers. They know what they want. They know what they're looking for. And guess what? There's not a lot of homes on the market still to choose from. And so when you are prepared right, priced right, showing great, marketed well, you're going to get all of those serious buyers coming through your home. And I have often had success with getting multiple offers and selling above asking price in January. So
yeah.
It is true that the homes often don't show as well in terms of the yards, but if we, you know, do everything else right, we often have a lot of success. And we can take pictures of springtime and put those online and in the house as well to show people the beauty of the home during the springtime. Okay.
Yeah,
so
when you had 5 closings in February, I was just like, yeah, hit the ground running for sure.
So what's your home worth? So as we've talked about pricing strategy, right? So if you want to determine what your home is worth, you can go online these days and get a lot of estimates of what your home is worth. So right on Zillow, of course, you can do it. This is a Homes by Mason website, in fact. So novahomeprice.com will come to us. So you can come here and plug in your address and we'll get your request for an estimate, and we can generate an automated estimate for you as well. However, the reality is that to get a true assessment of your home, you're going to want a realtor to come see your home, either in person or we can do it virtually as well, to look at all of the fine details inside and out of your home to determine its true value. So when is the right time? And so this kind of goes back to Mark's question from earlier as well. Honestly, there's not really an answer to this. It's hard to win on both sides of the coin, right? If you're getting the best price for your home, well, then you're probably paying the highest price for the home that you're purchasing as well. If you're getting a deal on the home that you're buying, well, you're probably giving a deal on the home that you're selling, right? So it's hard to win on both sides of the coin unless you follow those trends, right? So if you do buy on the bottom of the price increase, right? So if you buy when price is here and price is going up and then sell afterwards, well, then you might be winning, right? Because you bought when prices were low and then demand is going up and then you do sell. Now you don't want to be on the other side of that, right? So try not to buy at the peak and then sell as prices are going down. That chart that I showed earlier in terms of how the market trends. So also, if this is the case, think about what matters most, right? Does it matter most to make more money on the sale of your home, which is kind of a one-time cash influx? Or does it make more money to, does it make more sense rather to get the best deal on the purchase of your home, which is going to be your mortgage for the next 30 years, right? And so interest rates, right? You've always got to think about interest rates when you're purchasing, because the fluctuation in interest rates, right, have a significant impact on your finances for the long term, right? So I really think that when you're purchasing a home, if you can buy at a low interest rate, that is when you want to buy, right? So here, this scenario, I like to show people to remind them of how important that interest rate is. From scenario 1 to 3 makes the most sense to people, is that the price of the home went up $25,000 across the board. Here, people put 5% down. The interest rate changed by 1%. And this is the monthly payment. So of course, the monthly payment went up by about $400, and over the course of the loan, that's almost $150,000. From scenario 1 to 2 surprises the most people, including myself. The first time I saw it, the price of the home here went down $25,000. So you think you're getting a better deal. Wow, I'm getting a deal, right? However, the interest rate had gone up by 1%, and so the monthly payment here is still higher than it is here by $154, and over the course of the loan, $55,000. So interest rate is critical, right? If you can buy at a low interest rate before interest rates climb, do so. It's going to be best for you in the long haul. And again, this is just another chart that shows you, how the interest rates can fluctuate month to month, depending upon that interest rate, right? So for the same price home, your monthly payment could be as low as $2,300 or as high as almost, $2,650, depending upon the interest rate. Okay. So when you are going to sell your home, there are some things you can do, right, before it's time to put it on the market, right? So you don't have to wait, and Mark knows this well, actually. You don't have to wait until it's time to put it on the market to call a realtor and say, can you talk to me about what we should do to get the home ready, right? So that is something that I do all the time for people, is I am happy to consult on what needs to be done to a home. And then what you're going to do after that, after you have an idea of, okay, what should I do? Then go ahead and get your estimates, right? If you want to talk to a couple of different contractors and get a couple of estimates, do so. And time when you're going to make those improvements, right? So there may be some things that you can do while you're living there. And there might be some things that you want to wait until moving out, if you're going to move and then sell. But painters get busy, right? Like my painter, he's a good painter at a good price, so he stays booked. So again, plan him, right? Meet him, get the estimate with him, and then get on his schedule so that you know when you want him to paint your home, which is probably after you've moved and taken all of the things off the wall, right? And your walls are scuffed behind all of those paintings and pictures that you have up. So make sure that you've got him scheduled for when you need him. And then, of course, whether you're living, well, if you're moving, again, you don't have to declutter and depersonalize, right? That's an advantage. You throw it all in a box and you go. If you are going to be living there, then everybody needs to declutter and depersonalize and pack and store things usually and get rid of stuff. And so it is never, ever too soon to start that. And then staging is going to be a part of the process. It should be a part of the process. And if you work with me, it is a part of the process. So we can, again, talk about that and plan for that ahead of time before you've actually, moved or before the week to list. So in terms of deciding what needs to be done, you can think about it yourself. When you do that, I advise taking a look at the home from the buyer's perspective, okay? Forget everything that you know about a home. You know all of the warts and pimples of your home. You know that there's a little itty bitty crack here. You know that there's a flap here, coming off. Buyers walk through your home. They take about 15 minutes, right? 15 to 20 minutes on their showing, when they're going to usually decide yay or nay on your home. Okay, so they're not going to notice all of the warts and pimples. You need to take a fresh look at it. And when I look at a home for the first time, I start at that front door. And I say, I'm going to look at it like I'm a buyer. Go through the front door. What do I notice? What's the first thing I'm noticing as I'm walking through the front door? Is the trim around the front door chipped and peeling? What's the condition of the front door? This is the first thing, right? They're going to touch and walk through. The entryway, how does the entryway look, right? These are the first impressions. And of course, curb appeal, which we'll talk about in a minute. Neutral, right? So if you love color, or if the owner of your home before you loved color and you've got lots of color in your home, it's better to be neutral than bright colors. So, you know, you can never go wrong with neutral. Although I would stay away from white. I did go through a house once that was like all white. And I was like, you know, a little bit of color is a good thing. And then you might want to spend some money to make some money. And bottom line, you don't have to make these decisions alone. I mean, again, you can try and kind of, you know, start on your own. But the best thing to do really is to call me, call a professional, and get a professional opinion. Curb appeal is something you can do, right? That's not gonna interfere with your living in the home, right? So painting and carpet and floors and a lot of things that you might do are hard to do while you're living there. But outside stuff and curb appeal is easier to do while you're still living there. So think about that, right? What can you do on the outside of your home to improve the home? Again, take a look at the exterior light fixtures, right? If they look dated, update them, right? That's an easy fix. That's not going to cost you a lot of money. Front door, does it need to be painted? Does it need to be replaced? Again, this is the first thing they're going to touch when they come through your home. Railings and things, are they rusted? Do they need paint? Landscaping, right? Again, you can spend a lot of money on landscaping. You can also, you know, especially if you pay people to do it, or again, you can spend some time doing it yourself and not spend as much money. So those are some things to think about in terms of getting your home ready to sell. Getting the best bang for your buck. Again, I have a whole seminar on preparing your home for market, which goes into this stuff at more depth. But basically, kitchens and baths matter most. That is what buyers care about the most. So if you're going to spend your money, spend it there first. And realize too, you don't have to spend $1 million. You don't have to, you know, this bathroom here is gorgeous, right? They did this for themselves. You don't have to do something like this to sell. Paint and a vanity and fixtures can go a long way to give a nice facelift to a bathroom, for sure. Okay, so light fixtures, faucet fixtures, door handles, knobs on cabinets, okay? The pulls and the knobs, these are things where you can get good bang for your buck and things that you can do while you're still living in your home without too much interruption. And then of course, paint and carpet are two other things as well that you can get good bang for your buck. It doesn't cost a lot of money and it has a really good impact on how the home shows. And again, those things are probably going to be better done after you've moved out. So the timing of things, again, if you're going to move out, then you might schedule these things to be done right as you've moved out, and then you're ready to go on the market like that. Okay. Or if you're going to live in the home and sell it, again, do it closer to listing so that those things don't get messed up, ideally. And how to choose the right realtor. So if you're going to be buying a home and selling a home at the same time, you want to know that you are in good hands, right? So trust is critical, right? And that's actually, I believe it's the National Association of Realtors that studies this every year. You know, how do people, what's most important to people in their realtor? And trust and honesty, I think, are the first things on the top of the list. How do you know that you can trust a realtor, right? If you know them or someone that you know knows them, that's going to go a long way, right? One of the reasons why I do these things and why I do consultations is because I want to build that relationship with people and, you know, let you know that you can trust me. And hope that you also will, you know, once you do know me and trust me, I hope that you will share your experience with me with other people, so then other people will know that they can trust me as well. And if you don't know the realtor, or if someone that you know doesn't know the realtor, check their references. Okay, ask for them, check them. I mean, I don't think a lot of realtors actually hand out references. I do, and it's surprising to me, right? I just think that's crazy that, you know, if I'm a realtor interviewing for the job to sell your home, just sell your home, but especially if I'm going to help you sell and buy, those are two big financial transactions. So yeah, like here, call people who I've worked with, right? And ask them if I'm for real, and ask them if I do what I say I'm going to do, and whatever you want, if they had a good experience, ask for references and check references. I would highly recommend that. And then of course, find out how much experience a realtor has. So we're all new at one time, right? I was new 10 years ago, and I was not as good then as I am now, right? And so, it's nice to give someone a break when they are new. You can do that. But again, depending upon the transaction that you're doing, you might want to consider how much experience a realtor has, and because it is a tough job. I'm going to tell you again, 10 years in the business, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that people don't know, and experience helps a lot to make sure that you can navigate, especially when you're buying and selling at the same time. And then market knowledge goes along with that as well. So a realtor who knows the real estate market in general, right? As you saw, I watch the stats every month so that I know what's happening in the market. And then also, of course, neighborhood knowledge, right? So what's happening in the market as a whole, and does the realtor know what's happening locally in your neighborhood where you're selling and or in the neighborhood where you're buying? Okay, so I think those are important factors to look for to end results. So a realtor should be able to
did
show
ask
you
a
the
good
results.
Question, Kristen. She said, is it best to use a different realtor, one to sell and one to buy? That's a good question.
So is it best to use two different realtors? In my opinion, no. I have had that experience actually a couple of times. I mean, of course you can. However, because there's lots of moving parts, in my opinion, it is better to have one realtor navigating all of those different waters and all of those different parts. Because again, especially like if you're writing an offer that is contingent upon selling or contingent upon closing, if I'm the listing agent of the home that you're selling, I'm going to give the listing agent of the home that you're buying the confidence of, I know what I'm doing, and here, let me give you all of the information that I have, and let me keep you updated all along the way about what is going on with the sale of their home while we're buying your home, okay? And again, these are dominoes, right? So buying a home and selling a home, they're dominoes that need to, things need to happen in sync with each other in order to make sure you're not homeless, and make sure that things go as expected, and then you close on time. So again, having one experienced realtor who knows what they're doing and has the experience at doing this, in my opinion, is definitely the way to go. So, all right, and then I've got some stats on what's happening in the market now. So this is just kind of in general, I feel like, to let people know what's happening in the market. I've got a few slides. So COVID is happening, right? And so therefore, the market might look a little bit different than it normally does. This is about inventory. How is inventory doing? And these statistics are from, oh, it's blurry, but it's usually from February till now. So this is week over week data, and the orange line here is 2020 and the blue line is 2019. So compared to last year, we were a little bit higher than we were the year before, and then COVID hit, and then we did come down in inventory, but we're tracking about at the same inventory as we were last year. So it's just down 1% from last year. So that is not too bad. Now, in general, we would like to see more inventory, because our challenge in the market these days really, again, is low inventory, which is good for sellers, but if you're a buyer, not so good. So new listings, how many new listings are coming on the market? So again, this should be from early February till now, week over week data. What happened was we were beating 2019 and COVID hit, and then new listings came down. However, for the past like 6 weeks, inventory supply has been going up. And that's the entire Bright footprint, which is actually Virginia, Maryland, DC, Pennsylvania, Delaware, West Virginia, and I think New Jersey. And I'm going to show you Virginia. I've got a couple slides on Virginia too. New purchase contracts. How many buyers are out there writing contracts? So same thing. 2020 is the orange line. We were slightly above 2019. COVID hit, we dropped, and then we increased, and we've just surpassed 2019. Okay, so again, this is good news that buyers are back, and we're kind of back to normal in terms of the amount of activity that we're seeing from buyers. Showing activity for the entire Bright footprint, same thing, went down and then went up, and we've surpassed what we were at last year. And then these are the charts for Virginia specifically, which show essentially the same trends. So new listings in Virginia are pretty much on track, or the same as what they were in 2019 pretty much. And then new purchase contracts went down and went back up and are just below what they were in 2019. But interesting, you can see how it again followed the same trend line. It went up and then it went down this week in particular. Some people are going on vacation this time of year, even now. I know a colleague of mine went on vacation. So that might be why there was that dip that week. And then closed listings in Virginia. So again, we were kind of on track, pretty close to what we were doing the year before. We then went under what we were doing the year before, but we've been increasing. And again, the gap is not too far from what it was the year before. Showing activity, specifically in Virginia, the same trend that we saw earlier. It went down and now we're beating. Okay, so showing activity is better than it was last year at this same time. So I mentioned it earlier, right? People might think that during COVID, the market is worse. And while, yes, COVID hit and everyone pumped the brakes and said, whoa, what is going on? And let's keep ourselves safe. Now people have kind of adjusted to a new normal. And we have adapted our business practices, and we know how to go out and keep ourselves and our clients safe by taking the necessary precautions. And in fact, these days, right, it's safer to shop for a home with one realtor, right, than it is to go to the grocery store where you're surrounded by how many people at the grocery store. So, so at Homes by Mason, we are open for business, both listing homes and helping people buy homes. We can do basically everything virtually these days, right? So Zoom is our friend, and we can do virtual showings. Again, our priority first and foremost is to keep ourselves healthy and safe and keep our clients healthy and safe. And so we will go out to a home and do a virtual showing by ourselves before you come out physically if you want to. And whenever we do have in-person appointments, we do use the precautions of wearing a mask, using gloves, using hand sanitizer, and providing the hand sanitizer and masks for our clients as well. So that gets us to the end.
So Beverly, you're with us, and we actually had Mark and Bill had to drop off a little bit early in the last 10 minutes. Did you have any questions that maybe went unanswered? You didn't get to send a chat? Can you unmute her, Kristen,
Sure.
just in case?
She might have stepped away.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm here.
Okay. Oh, hey, Beth.
No, hi. No, I don't have any other questions. This is very insightful.
Yes, I'm benefiting from it too as a future home buyer and seller. So can everybody hear the storm coming through? I've had a couple glitches. I'm afraid I'm going to fall off.
Yeah, I can hear it, and you probably can hear it on my side too. Yeah, it is about to come through. So that said, I talked about earlier, right? If anyone wants an assessment of the value of their home, you can contact me directly or through Rebecca, and I will either meet you virtually and or in person to do an assessment of the value of your home. And our seminar next week is on how to search and secure the right home in a competitive market. So
that one I'm looking forward to. Just because my name's Rebecca Bryant, and next year in the spring is just going to be, I'm scared, but nobody knows the future. You know, I wish I had a crystal ball.